The day Andrew's white moonlight returned to stateside, I was tying his necktie. Everyone was waiting to watch me fall apart, knowing that when he and his former flame broke up, he nearly lost his life. But I simply finished the knot, giving him a flat reminder, "Don't play too hard, don't forget the banquet tonight." He nodded, yet he left me stranded at the gala, never showing up. Later, he found me standing near the highway overpass, cautiously pleading, "Vera, please don't look at me like that. We can earn a lot more money later." Andrew received the call that morning. I was adjusting his tie when I heard the soft voice on the other end. "Andrew, I'm back." The voice was beautiful, and Andrew instantly froze. He knew that voice all too well. It belonged to Summer, his white moonlight who had been abroad and out of contact for years. When they originally broke up, it caused a massive scandal in their circle, and Andrew had fallen into despair, nearly costing him his life. I was the one who kicked down his door, grabbed him by the collar, and asked him point blank, "Arranged marriage?" The alliance was sudden, but it didn't stop the union of two corporate giants from sending shockwaves through the industry, instantly trivializing the sensationalized gossip. I seized the opportunity to expand the company's scope, earning an immediate $200 million. Did Andrew love me? Did it matter? I wouldn't die without love. And now, Summer was back. Summer. Andrew's breath hitched. A frail sob came from the phone, pitiful and weak. His face changed immediately, because I abruptly tightened the necktie, choking him until he nearly suffocated. "Andrew, darling, I'm back. I've missed you so much." Summer's voice continued. "Can you come pick me up? You're the only person I wanted to see first after all these years." She sounded genuine, but I could hear Andrew's buddies surrounding her on the other end. They always looked down on me and were probably waiting to see me humiliated. Summer, however, seemed unaware that her Andrew, darling, was about to lose consciousness. I took the phone and answered for him. "Sure, send the address. I'll pick you up myself." A sudden silence fell on the other end. After barely 2 seconds, the line was cut. Andrew, now released, glared at me furiously. "Vera Sterling." I calmly went back to adjusting his tie. "I'm not deaf. You did that on purpose. Summer is innocent. If you have to go crazy, don't involve her. She's not like you. She needs protection." Then, as if remembering something, he looked at me with disdain. "Your reaction just now, were you jealous? Vera, look at yourself. Do you really think you can compare to Summer?" He expected me to be furious, convinced that our commercial marriage was just a facade, and my true goal was always to be with him. But I simply smiled faintly, finishing the knot. My tone remained level as I warned, "Don't play too hard. Don't forget the banquet tonight." That banquet was crucial, potentially worth $5 billion. I couldn't permit any complications. That chokehold was a warning to Andrew. As for Summer, I scoffed. "Summer, what is she, exactly? The daughter of a mistress is fit to compare with me. Andrew, if I wanted to, I could destroy her with the snap of my fingers in this city. She's fine right now. Guess why? Because she's not worth the effort." Andrew was speechless. His face was flushed crimson. He gritted his teeth. "If it weren't for you, how would Summer have been forced to leave the country? You wicked woman." I simply replied, "If you want her gone again, keep running your mouth." He shut up, unwillingly. Andrew and I were childhood acquaintances, but unlike typical childhood friends who grow close over time, I always thought Andrew was an idiot. As a born entrepreneur, I displayed my business acumen from an early age. I created a complete industrial chain out of homework copying in the elite preschool. The sons and daughters of 10-figure families called me boss respectfully. Andrew was the sole exception. Born into a business family, he loathed the smell of money, preferring to experience the hardships of commoners and embrace freedom. Anyone who disregards wealth to chase a poverty experience is nothing but an idiot. Hence, we never saw eye to eye and often clashed growing up. The turning point came when we were older. I was cornered by a group of girls in the restroom. I realized they had hated me for a while, keeping the entire class quiet to ambush me for a beating. Hilarious. I might not be a good fighter, but I can fight, though outnumbered. I held my ground, ripping out handfuls of their hair. I was pressed onto the floor, and they were about to photograph my humiliation when Andrew kicked the door open. His eyes were red, like an enraged lion. He dragged me out. I am spiteful, but I also remember kindness. So, the day those girls were expelled, my lawyer filed a lawsuit against them. When Andrew was kicked out by his parents, I gave him some relief. From then on, we maintained a fragile peace, finally resembling typical childhood friends. But life is seldom tranquil. When I was 18, I received the news of my mother's death. This middle-aged woman, worn down by a life of hysterics, suffered a fatal heart attack when she witnessed my father with his mistress. dying with her eyes open. I calmly handled her funeral. Few attended. Everyone assumed I was finishedno support. The new wife would move in immediately. There was no need to curry favor with a mere girl. During those days, Andrew was busy dating his slum girl overseas. He had finally found a woman who wasn't a gold digger chasing his wealth. He even ran into me and, seeing me fail to greet him, grumbled, "Bera, are you blind? I'm right here. Why aren't you answering my messages? I ran away from home. Lend me some cash. I'll pay you back in a few months." I held my mother's urn, my eyes fixed on the girl next to him, who bore a slight resemblance to me or my father. I remained silent. "Andrew, darling, who is she?" the girl asked, blinking innocently at me. "Her, just a shrew. All she cares about is money, money, money. She's vulgar," he replied. "Don't say that about her, Andrew. Girls shouldn't be talked about like that. It's embarrassing," Summer advised him, covering her mouth to hide a smile. I was more polite. I didn't like arguing, so I lifted my mother's urn and smashed it over both their heads. My father rushed over, shoving me to the ground, defending Summer just as Andrew had. He roared at me, "Vera Sterling, what are you doing? How could you treat your sister like that?" Andrew's expression finally changed. Raised in the gilded cage of the elite, even he understood what was happening. He saw my mother's photo on the urn and walked toward me, remorseful and nervous, trying to help me up. I slapped his hand away. I looked at the three of Thema family and sneered, "You truly are trash." My father's furious shouts were my only reply. From that day, I formally inherited my mother's shares and began managing the company. Andrew sought me out later, bringing that irritating woman. "Summer, Vera, the accident with your mother was terrible, but those were the adults' mistakes. Summer is innocent. Can you stop taking it out on her? Try to get along." "What nonsense." I frowned. Summer seized the opportunity. "Andrew, darling, does big sister dislike me? Does she like you?" "Summer, what are you talking about?" Andrew was stunned, disbelieving. Summer smiled with certainty. "You can't hide the way you look at someone you like. She must be jealous because I got close to you." Disgusting. I raised my hand and slapped them both, remembering the cookies my mother baked for Andrew, the scarf she bought him. I coldly judged him. "Andrew, you are truly worthless. Vera, what good is your high and mighty act? Because of your jealousy, you forced Summer overseas. Now she has to call me and ask where you sent her father and mother. She can't even see them. You are truly wicked." Andrew sought me out again at noon. He seemed convinced that my love for him was simply masked by my harsh words. I just rubbed my temples. "If you want answers, you'll get them after the banquet tonight." "What do you mean?" Andrew was furious. "Andrew, remember our alliance contract. Tonight's gala is to show our doubtful partners and competitors that our two families are still tightly bound. If we show any cracks, our partners will waver, and Sterling Corp will lose 50 billion. I shrugged. With that much money at stake, I can't blindly trust you to avoid complications. If you behave well at the banquet tonight, I will give you the answer." He looked startled, as if seeing me for the first time. "Vera, is money really that important to you? You're using a daughter's affection for her parents as a threat." "Apologies. A mistress and a cheating bastard are simply vermin to me. They have no human rights, so it's not affection. As for money," I looked up at him. "What if I told you that if this fails, I will die?" His breath hitched. He averted his gaze. "What are you talking about? Don't try to trick me. Andrew, you should know that I never lie to you, because your intelligence doesn't require the effort." I finished the sentence silently. He fell silent for a moment, then nodded firmly. "I will be there." With rapid technological changes, sector-leading companies need to transition quickly. This is the moment of greatest vulnerability. At this critical juncture, whether it involves financing, investors, partners, or rivals, no unexpected crisis can occur. That's why I desperately needed Andrew to attend the gala with me to broadcast a message of unwavering cooperation to skeptical partners. But Andrew seemed to think this was just another routine, theatrical appearance that could be done anytime. When the driver asked where he was going, he hesitated. He had received a video call from Summer. In the video, Summer looked pale, fragile, and beautiful, but she held a knife to her wrist. "Summer, stop," Andrew screamed. "Andrew, darling, I can't do this." Summer sobbed. "You don't love me anymore, do you? You love Vera, don't you? I came back, and you didn't even pick up my call. You've forgotten me, haven't you?" "No, no, Summer, I have a really important gala right now. That's why I couldn't pick you up. Tomorrow." "Okay, can I see you tomorrow?" Andrew's eyes darted away. "I don't believe you," Summer wailed hysterically. "You're still lying. You do love Vera. She tortured my parents somehow, and you're helping her. Do you know I've suffered from severe depression these past few years? Andrew, darling, I want to die. Will you collect my body? Just this one last favor. With that, she sliced her wrist. No, Andrew yelled, finally giving the command. Go to the airport hotel. The airport hotel. But, Mrs. Sterling instructed. Are you a Quinn employee or a Sterling employee? Listen to me. Go to the airport hotel. Andrew was uncharacteristically furious, his voice carrying genuine authority. The driver had no choice but to comply. The car sped away, going the opposite direction from the original destination. Andrew's hands were shaking. It will be fine. It will be fine. A life was at stake. Vera's threat that she would die was just a bluff. He wouldn't fall for such a low tactic. Summer, however, might genuinely die. He had to save her. It doesn't matter if I'm a little late. That's what he told himself. Meanwhile, at the gala, I stared at my phone, hundreds of missed calls with an icy expression. My partners were already looking displeased. The surrounding guests watched me with undisguised mockery. Just then, a message popped up. A familiar name, and a familiar, gratingly smug tone. Big sis, I told you, you can't beat me. All I have to do is snap my fingers, and hell come running. The moment the message arrived, a photo of Andrew and Summer suddenly flashed onto the large screen at the venue. They looked intimate. Summer leaning on his shoulder, her eyes red. To an outsider, it might have looked like a casual snapshot, but just that single photo was enough to expose the irreparable rift in the harmonious corporate union we had been trying to project. A loud crash. Everyone looked on in horror as I smashed my phone against the screen, shattering both the device and the image. No one needed to wonder how terrifying my expression was. 50 billion, maybe more. This was the lifeblood of Sterling Corp. My life. Caleb, I ground the name out. You should just die. A massive storm broke out that night. When Andrew finally arrived at the banquet hotel, the event had long been over. He grabbed a waiter. What happened? The invitation said it ends in half an hour. The waiter, seeing his expensive but soaking wet attire, assumed he was some rich woman's boy toy and spoke openly. Dude, didn't you hear? Tonight's banquet was ruined. It was supposed to be a showcase for the Sterling heiress and the Quinn young master to prove their relationship was strong. But guess what? The Quinn young master has another woman. He ditched his fiancée and never showed. TSK, TSK, TSK. That fiancée had to face all those big business sharks, politely explaining things with a terrible look on her face, enduring all the harsh challenges. I've never seen a corporate heiress so humiliated. It was pathetic. If you ask me, the Quinn young master is a real bastard. Andrew's face turned white upon hearing this. His voice trembled. That's not what I intended. Where is she now? He only meant to save Summer first. He hadn't realized how important the gala was. The waiter only caught the end of his sentence and lamented. Word is that she couldn't salvage the partners. Sterling Corp directly lost 50 billion. The transition is crippled. Anyone would want to die after that. Right. I saw that Mississippi Sterling drive off toward the highway overpass after sending off the last guests. Looked like she was going to kill herself. Hey, why are you running? When Andrew found me, I was crouched by the guardrail of the overpass, soaked and miserable by the torrential rain. The downpour was so heavy that the road was empty. His sports car's roar sounded frantic and jarring. He stumbled toward me, his eyes red. This was perhaps the first time he had seen me so vulnerable. His voice shook. Vera. I heard him and slowly lifted my head. My eyes were dead, as if looking at a stranger. He probably expected me to hit him. Since childhood, whenever he did something idiotic, I would slap him back to reality. But not this time. I just stared at him silently through the rain, my voice frighteningly calm. I asked him, are you satisfied now? Seeing me like this? Are you satisfied? No. He immediately shook his head. He would have preferred a slap over the look in my eyes, neither happy nor sad, just cold, like looking at an inanimate object. A sudden dread washed over him. Summer always told him I loved him to the point of maddening jealousy, so he believed I would never abandon him. But now, he realized that wasn't necessarily true. I really might leave him, or rather, if not for certain reasons, he didn't deserve my tolerance. This realization sparked an immense panic. He crept closer, pleading, Vera, please don't look at me like that. We can earn a lot more money later. Get out. I couldn't hold back anymore. I rushed forward, grabbing his collar, my eyes red as I demanded, Andrew, if you couldn't do it, why did you agree? You signed that marriage contract yourself. Why did you sign it if you couldn't uphold it? Who do you think you are? If not you, there are plenty of others. How dare you talk about later? I wish I could push you off this bridge and pour concrete over you. He fell back onto the ground, hearing my words. He stared up in disbelief. You don't mean that, do you? What, plenty of others? Vera, the person you've always loved is me. Love. I was choked with laughter, blood rushing to my head. $50 billion is about to turn to ash. And you're still talking about your damn love. I truly regret it. I regret kicking down that door 3 years ago. This is my just punishment. No, Andrew countered in terror. He was afraid of what I would say next. In his mind, I should be hitting him right now. A beating was fine. Once the violence ended, the issue was settled. But this time, I hadn't touched him. I was saying I regretted our connection. He had always yearned to escape me, preferring the innocent little white flower. Summer, I was full of thorns. But seeing me crouched on that overpass, he genuinely panicked. He didn't know what that feeling was, maybe guilt, maybe concern, given our long history, but after hearing my words, he realized it was fear of loss. 10 years of acquaintance, 3 years living side by side. He couldn't allow himself to lose me. Vera, you're only saying this because you're angry, right? You don't regret it. Today was definitely my mistake. It's because some summer, she threatened suicide. I couldn't let her die. I'm sorry, it's my fault. We can earn the money back. We'll earn lots of money later. Seeing my gaze grow colder, a terrible thought crossed his mind. He asked, trembling, did you truly never love me? I sneered. What do you think? Then what was everything you did for? You pushed Summer out for me. You kept me tied to your side for 3 years. Andrew, my breathing steadied, replaced by cold exhaustion. I was out of patience waiting for him to grow up. I delivered the ultimatum coldly. You need to remember what I told you then. Our marriage was a mutually beneficial corporate partnership. More importantly, your parents practically begged me to save their son. When I was fighting tooth and nail, your aunt and uncle helped me establish myself. I remember that. And yes, there was profit for me, so I agreed. He desperately objected. Stop talking. I beg you. Vera, stop. I didn't blink. You listened to Summer, who convinced you I was deeply in love with you. I thought you were just too protected to see through such nonsense. But I didn't realize you were so deluded. For 3 years, I forced you to learn how to be an heir. Today was my biggest gamble. If you hadn't run to Summer, you would have passed my test. We would have been excellent partners. Stop. Vera, don't say any more. I laughed self-deprecatingly. But I didn't expect you to be so stupid. Everyone grows up. Even Summer has gained some manipulative skills. Only you stand right where you were, yammering on about your damn love. Now I've lost the gamble. $50 billion is enough to repay my debt to the Quinn family. When I first entered the company, things were incredibly difficult, even precarious. Walter Sterling, my father, and his mistress were determined to push me out and force me to surrender my mother's shares. But why should I? I clawed my way up from the bottom, like a wolf waiting for its moment. Andrew's parents, the only 2 true friends my mother had, became my strongest shields when I was at my weakest. They protected me until I showed my fangs and drove Walter and the mistress out. In business, you can't forget kindness. I logged that debt of gratitude, so when those parents begged me to save their son, I agreed. It's easier to repay a monetary debt than an emotional one. Andrew, thankfully, had some talent and learned quickly over those 3 years, though I wasn't above using some physical persuasion. As an heir, he was qualified, needing only one final test, and he gave me a shock. I have to thank you, Andrew. If you hadn't done this idiotic thing, I wouldn't have been able to buy off that debt of gratitude so easily for $50 billion. I believe that after today, Mr. and Mrs. Quinn won't be able to ask anything more of me. I spoke, smiling. A silver car stopped beside me. My secretary, Jenna, stepped out and held an umbrella over my head. I even lit a cigarette, feeling the rage of betrayal subside slightly after the rain. Ms. Sterling, as per your instructions, the contingency plan has been executed. The partners have been appeased. Quinn Corp is taking the blame. Sterling Corp is clean. Jenna reminded me of my schedule. I exhaled a cloud of smoke. I know. Andrew looked up sharply, realizing the truth, his eyes turning red. You lied to me. You didn't lose the $50 billion. Calm down, idiot, I said coolly. I'm a businesswoman, and even though I hate to admit it, I grew up with you. I wouldn't risk $50 billion on you. Keeping a backup plan is always wise. Because I didn't trust you. I gave you a chance, and you failed. The loss has occurred, and since you caused it, Quinn Corp will bear the burden. No problem. Right. $50 billion was a crucial sum for Sterling Core transition. To entrust such a life-and-death matter entirely to my supposed feelings for Andrew, That would make my entire career a joke. You. Andrew was furious. He reverted to his immature state. As soon as he realized there was a way out, his guilt vanished, his love was buried, and he immediately accused me. You truly are the money-hungry Vera Sterling. How can you be so cold-blooded? Summer's life was at stake. You had other options. So why force me? Don't you know that if I had chosen the banquet today, Summer would have died? Then let her die, I replied, unmoved. Furthermore, didn't you choose the path you thought was right? Andrew, how much do you actually care about me? Enough to deserve my devotion. I didn't lie to you. If I hadn't made a backup plan, I might have jumped off this bridge today. No one could bear such a loss. I looked down at him. He watched, listening to my verdict. As for now, you can run back to your little white flower and reconnect. And tell her to clean her neck carefully. I will personally send her to reunite with her mistress mother and bastard father. Don't thank me too much. It's the least I can do. She thinks seducing a few wealthy, debauched heirs is enough to challenge me. She should think again. I've navigated this industry for years. Play games with me. Let's see who runs the A-City Business District. I left Andrew on the overpass without looking back. Sitting in the back seat, I watched his figure recede. Jenna, who had followed me for years, knew Andrew's parents. She spoke cautiously. Mr. Quinn won't say anything about this incident, but in the future, afraid of what? I laughed. I acted with utmost benevolence. At worst, if their family business collapses, I'll take care of them in their old age. Is that enough repayment? Jenna immediately fell silent. Sterling Corp plan transition was major news, with countless eyes scrutinizing me. The $50 billion was just the start. More capital would be needed. The beginning is the hardest part. Any misstep, and the old foxes would pull their money. I had to admit, Summer learned a few things overseas. She knew that ruining the start would hurt me and Sterling Corp badly, but that was the extent of her insight. She continued to possess a brain-dead beauty. What kind of thinking process led her to believe I would stake such a critical matter on my alleged feelings for Andrew? His feelings? What were they worth? The next few days were calm. Andrew's parents maintained their composure, perhaps feeling too disgraced to confront me, until one afternoon, my phone rang. I answered. Who is this? It was an unknown number because I had blocked her. Vera Sterling. I held the phone away from my ear. Summer's roaring voice was full of energy. Where was the little bunny now? How dare you push all the blame onto Andrew? Don't you know he collapsed from exhaustion and is in the hospital trying to fix your mess? Now all the partners are saying Quinn Corp is unreliable and refusing to renew contracts. I lit a cigarette. You chose this. The photo went out. The banquet was ruined. And now Andrew is yours. How wonderful. You succeeded. You. Summer choked. Don't you feel anything for Andrew? He's in the hospital with a bleeding stomach. He drank to beg those partners to stay. She broke down, sobbing. I calmly assessed his efforts. For multi-million-dollar deals, drinking a few glasses of alcohol is a good bargain, more than a bargain. It was practically free. After all, I hadn't been managing Quinn Corp survival lately. Andrew had to handle everything himself. At least the things I taught him were finally proving useful, likely with considerable help from his parents behind the scenes. But if you just say your relationship is fine and that day was a misunderstanding, he wouldn't have to work so hard. Vera, take revenge on me. Why do this to Andrew? Don't you just want him to crawl back to you? You want to force him to marry you, don't you? I raised an eyebrow at her nonsense. Is Andrew next to you? Summer didn't answer. You're sleeping together already, I surmised. She immediately panicked. Don't slander us. I'm just taking care of Andrew in the hospital. She cut herself off and vaguely continued. Anyway, you just want Andrew to beg you, don't you? I'll beg for him. I'll kneel and kowtow for you. Andrew is a man. He shouldn't be humiliated like this. I replied. Fine, Summer. What? I said. If you want to kneel for him, I accept. You set the time and place. Make sure the sound is loud when you kowtow. Quiet knocks don't count. In the past, Summer would have hysterically called me delusional. She viewed herself as a princess. How could she kneel to me? But this time, she paused, then said, what about my parents' location? My interest was finally piqued. Before hanging up, I smiled. Depends on my mood. On the other side of the phone, Summer curled her lips into a smirk. When she turned back, her eyes were filled with tears as she choked out to the man in the hospital bed. Andrew, darling, don't worry. I'll do anything for you. Vera is crazy. To control you. She wants to turn you into her dog. Is that really love? I love you, Andrew. Vera forced me, and I left so as not to drag you down. But she claims to love you, yet she drives you to ruin. Andrew's face was pale. He looked lost for a moment. She really wants to destroy me. I apologized. She used me. And I already figured things out and wanted to spend my life with her. Summer's face went white. She looked at Andrew incredulously. Andrew came back to himself, ignoring Summer's distress, and gritted out, "Don't worry, I won't let her succeed. I'll help you. After all, even if Mr. Sterling and Helen were wrong to cheat, they truly love each other, and Vera's mother's death wasn't their intention. As for Vera," he paused, "as long as she admits her mistake and kneels to me, I'll forgive her." Summer's expression twisted in frustration. I received Summer's proposed location and time the next afternoon. I looked at the address for the private wine estate and couldn't help but laugh. After so many years in business, this was the first time I'd seen a setup for a trap laid in such a desolate place. "What are you laughing at? Don't you have any respect?" Walter Sterling, lying in the hospital bed, angrily scolded me when he heard the noise. This 60-year-old fool still maintained the pretense of the head of the family. I sat on his bedside. "Of course, I'm happy to see you after so long. Have you missed me, father?" Walter Sterling's face flushed with anger. "You unfilial daughter, let me out. I'm not sick. I'm not sick." "Shoo." I stopped him, kindly reminding him, "You're paralyzed from a stroke. And you say you're not sick. Father, you mustn't deny your illness." He ground his teeth. "That's all because of you." It was, indeed, because of me. I still remembered the disbelief in Walter Sterling's eyes at the shareholder meeting when I had him ousted. He then slipped on the stairs and never left the hospital, now breathing through an oxygen mask. Truly, old age catches up to everyone. Since father hasn't missed me, but Helen takes care of you every day, you must be doing well. Since that's the case, let's discuss business. He looked at me warily. "Are you here alone today?" He was always suspicious, convinced I would eventually kill him myself. Heaven knows, I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't break the law. I pulled a stack of documents from my briefcase, kindly explaining, "I came in a hurry and didn't bring anyone. No need to be so nervous." Walter Sterling looked at the stack of papers that arrived promptly every month, his suspicion undiminished. "Vera, what is your purpose? The company is already yours. Why leave me a position? Why didn't you kick me out entirely? Why make me sign these? It's just a name. The decision-making power is yours anyway. It's redundant. Moreover, leaving him in the company was leaving a threat. The moment he was discharged, he could potentially bring me down. I wouldn't be so foolish." The first month I came, he refused to sign, convinced I was setting a trap. I hadn't bothered to argue then, simply saying softly, "You wouldn't want Summer to have a hard time overseas, would you?" Hearing that, Helen immediately rushed to Walter's side, sobbing, "Walter, Summer is your daughter. She finally managed to escape overseas. We can't let anything happen to her." Pleading from his little sweetheart, Walter finally gave in. Of course, even if he hadn't softened, he had no choice. After meticulously reviewing the documents, he finally signed. However, he only reviewed the documents for the first few months. As his condition worsened, he grew increasingly irritable. Every time he saw me, he impatiently snatched the documents from Jenna, scrawled his signature, and ordered me to leave. Very rude. So I instructed his doctor to check on him frequently. Given his volatility, perhaps a sedative was in order. But today, I didn't deflect. I sighed softly. "Do you think I want to do this? If it weren't for Mr. Quinn, you would have been kicked out long ago. Would I need to bother coming here every month?" "Arthur Quinn, Andrew's father, isn't he?" Walter Sterling was surprised. He stopped mid-sentence and burst into laughter. "Vera, I thought Arthur and his wife truly cared about you because of your mother. But they're just as bad. They pushed you onto the stage and married you to Andrew, intending to take over the whole estate. But even so, Arthur doesn't trust you, so he kept me here to checkmate you, didn't he?" Arthur Quinn is a shrewd fox. I heard he had cancer and was giving up control. I thought he was finished. I never expected it. "You're just a dog he trained." Finally understanding my predicament, he instantly felt better. The smile on his face was fixed. He arrogantly commanded me, "Since you're begging me, hurry up and open the documents for me." Jenna usually did that task. Making me do it was meant to be deeply humiliating. Seeing my momentary look of frustration, he proudly channeled his former CEO persona, signing with a flourish, the air of a man guiding the country. But his happiness made me unhappy. I put away the documents and looked down at him. "There's no free lunch in this world. You always have to pay a price for what you want. At least I brought you down, didn't I? As long as I remain compliant, you'll forever be just a backup useless, right? You." The realized Walter Sterling pointed at me, glaring furiously. Didn't you ever think of resisting? Vera, you are my blood, running off to be a dog for the Quins. Who told me to be grateful? I shrugged nonchalantly, picking up my briefcase to leave. Walter Sterling's voice softened slightly from behind. Vera, you are my daughter. I am your father. There's no hate between family that can't be fixed overnight. Your mother was also partly to blame. If she hadn't refused the divorce, we could have parted amicably. Besides, she died of a heart attack. What does that have to do with me? Be reasonable. If you let me out now, I won't hold this against you. Mentioning my mother was a mistake. I turned back, sneering. Divorce. Are you referring to the time you married into the family, changed the company name from my grandfather's, then took a mistress, and wanted to pay off your legitimate wife to get rid of her? Walter Sterling, if I must have a stain on my life, you are the biggest one. Yet despite everything you did, I haven't done anything to you. These years, your medicine and hospital stays have been the best. As long as you stay here obediently and recover, I can pretend nothing happened. What more do you want? This isn't recovery. You want to lock me up here. No one here dares to talk to me. I'm going crazy. All I can hear is your pathetic breathing. When I wake up, you only curse me. I walked away, leaving Walter Sterling's angry shouts behind. His primary doctor rushed up to me. My face darkened, and I asked coldly, how did he find out about Mr. Quinn's cancer diagnosis? The doctor flinched and apologized. That was our mistake. Security will be tightened immediately. He was about to say more when he was interrupted by a sharp voice. Vera, please, let me out. I don't want to serve him anymore. It's too quiet here. I'm going insane. Helen, seeing her chance, rushed up to me. Her eyes were bloodshot, and she looked distressed. I frowned. I have never restricted your freedom. No one is stopping you from leaving. Don't act as if I'm illegally detaining you. But this is dozens of miles from the city. If I walk back, I have nowhere to go. Give me some money. At least give me some money. If you won't do that, at least give me Summer's phone number. I'm begging you. How did she know Summer was back? I looked at the doctor. His face was pale. He immediately grew stern and hurried away. I said politely, Miss Helen, Summer is your daughter. How would I have her contact information? Even if I did, I'm under no obligation to give it to you. Am I? The truth was, Helen had stayed here by choice. The first day she saw Walter hooked up to tubes and an oxygen mask, she was so frightened she ran. As a legal citizen, though adultery is immoral, it's not illegal. I couldn't hold her. I simply froze all her cards. As that money was marital property between my mother and Walter, why should she use it? She had been pampered by my father for 20 years. The first time she walked 2 kilometers, she couldn't take it and returned because the hospital provided meals. But it's too quiet here. No one talks to me. They all ignore me. No internet. No signal. All I can hear is Walter's dying breath. When he wakes up, he only curses me. I'm going crazy. The second time she left, she actually made it to the city, but she had no money. This middle-aged woman, pampered by my father for 20 years, found washing dishes or picking up trash harder than dying. She couldn't even reach Summer. She was like a person completely forgotten. So, since returning that time, she never left again. I didn't mind. As a dutiful daughter, seeing my father and his sweetheart stuck together made me quite happy. As long as she returned, I fed her. How could you not know? You just want to torture me. You want to drive me to death, too, don't you? Vera Sterling, you will have a terrible end. Just like your mother. A terrible end. Helen became hysterical, pointing at me and trying to lunge, but security personnel, summoned by the doctor, dragged her away. I comforted her. Don't worry, you will see each other soon. The meeting was scheduled for a week later. I had wondered why Summer had restrained her temper for so long. Then I reached the venue door and heard a cacophony of voices inside. She really had improved. She had invited half the named second-generation rich kids in a city. Most were Andrew's friends, and a few were rivals of mine. Sure enough, as I approached the door, I heard Andrew and his buddies talking loudly, without any attempt at discretion. I'm telling you, Andrew, you were absolutely right. You shouldn't spoil women. That Vera shrew. What's there to miss? Exactly. Summer is much better obedient and virtuous. You should get together with her and stop wasting time on Vera. Oh, stop it. That's embarrassing. My sister is just too aggressive, but she's also very talented. How could Andrew, darling, ever like me when he has someone like her? Summer's soft voice sounded like honey-coated poison. Hearing this, someone couldn't resist asking Andrew, come on, Andrew, between Summer and Vera, which one do you like better? Andrew didn't answer, or rather, he didn't have time. I kicked the door open, the loud noise instantly drawing all eyes to me. Vera Sterling. The man who had been shouting suddenly stammered. Summer reacted quickly, her eyes reddening. Sis. I cut her off. Give me one more try. She bit her lip, resentment flashing in her eyes. She suppressed her voice. Ms. Sterling. I finally took in the scene. Expensive champagne bottles half empty, poker cards and dice scattered on the table, thick cigarette smoke, overpowering the perfume. There were scattered bills on the floor. The women brought by the men were scantily dressed. Such extravagant spending meant only one person could be footing the bill so carelessly. I looked at Andrew sitting in the corner and smirked. Mr. Quinn is quite generous with his treats. Andrew instinctively started to move toward me. I had kept him on a short leash for years. He hadn't attended a party like this in ages, but someone was faster. Andrew's friend, Dylan, stepped up, offering me a glass of champagne. Come on, Vera, don't be a party pooper. This is Summer's welcome party. Since you're here, sit down and have a drink. He looked at me with a hint of flirtation. I recognized him. Dylan, Summer's ultimate lapdog. As the youngest son in his family, he was spoiled rotten and lacked any sense of proportion, causing major trouble over the years. If Andrew was the nominal leader of this group because of his untouchable family wealth, Dylan was their true darling, fun, wild, and always inventing new ways to cause mischief. Welcome party. I raised an eyebrow. Is that what she told you all? Isn't it? Dylan countered. Summer's been abroad for years. Of course, we have to celebrate her return. Andrew organized this party, and I helped him put it together. He had been instantly infatuated with Summer, but she wasn't blind. With Andrew around, she wouldn't have spared Dylan a glance. I was surprised he was still running errands for her after all this time. I placed the wine glass on the table and sat composedly in the main seat, smiling at Summer. Really, Summer, you invited me here just to show me this. My time is limited. Summer's face stiffened, but she didn't bend her knees. Her eyes slightly red. A tear was held back, making her look pitiable, especially with the bandage visible beneath the sleeve of her dress. Andrew finally couldn't hold back. Put aside everything else. Vera, Summer only wants to know the whereabouts of Mr. Sterling and Helen. Tell her, and everything will be fine. I said. I don't know. Vera, how long will you remain stubborn? Your mother passed away long ago. You've had enough revenge, haven't you? I'm trying to help you. Don't you know illegal detention is a crime? Andrew was furious at my attitude. I scoffed. Mr. Quinn, you should watch your choice of words. I always abide by the law. You. Andrew sighed in exasperation. I truly am trying to help you. If you come back, well, get engaged, well, get married. I've realized that the person I love is you. So Vera, please don't make this difficult for me. His voice held a hint of a plea, stunning the onlookers who had expected me to be the desperate one. In their minds, I was the one clinging to the relationship for 3 years. Today, Andrew, who was always above it all, was the one humbly asking for forgiveness. Summer's posture wavered slightly. A tear finally fell. Seeing my lack of reaction, she sobbed. Forget it, Andrew, darling. She just wants to humiliate me and won't cherish your love anyway. But if it's for you and for my parents, I'm willing to kneel and kowtow to her. She started to drop to her knees toward me. Ms. Sterling, I beg you, let my parents go, and let Andrew go. He truly loves you. A hand grabbed her suddenly. Dylan was incandescent with rage. Andrew, she's driving Summer to this, and you still love her. What is wrong with you? She's a vicious woman, a bitter woman. She can't keep a man, so she blames others. She's exactly like her mother. Bang! I smashed a $1,000 bottle of champagne on the floor. The sudden noise silenced everyone. Only Summer's muffled sobs remained. Dylan stared at me, startled. Vera Sterling, are you crazy? But his voice quickly died out, because he finally saw the look in my eyes, and he watched as I walked over and slapped him across the face. Ah! Summer shrieked in fear. Andrew started to intervene, but I swept him with a cold glance. Get back. He froze. He had a gut feeling that if he took one more step, our relationship would be over for good. Vera Sterling, don't push your luck. Dylan covered his swollen left cheek and jumped up. He moved, and his cronies moved with him, looking aggressive, as if they were doing the world a favor. I'm telling you, if you don't tell us where Mr. Sterling and Helen are right now, you won't leave this room. What? You want to fight me? I sneered. So what if we fight? Do you think I won't hit a woman? Dylan. Andrew roared, but Dylan wasn't listening. He pointed a finger at me and yelled, Vera Sterling, you think you're so great. If you hadn't stolen Summer's place, would Sterling Corp be yours? I'll hit you right now. So what? You're just a woman. I'll hit you whenever I want." He was absolutely enraged. He raised his hand to slap my face. Andrew shouted and lunged toward me, but I simply smiled, not moving. Then I watched Dylan get kicked across the room. My bodyguards burst into the wine estate, quickly pinned Dylan down, and formed a barrier around the rest of the group, shocking the others into sobriety. They stared at me in terror. "Ms. Sterling." The bodyguard held Dylan down like a dog. "Vera Sterling." Dylan was humiliated, his eyes full of murderous intent. I stood up and slapped him again, grabbing his collar. "Your older brother treats me with respect. What the hell are you? How dare you speak to me like that? Who is pushing their luck?" His face flushed dark red. "You're right. Young Master Dylan is infamous for being lawless. But that's just flattery. Did you actually believe it? Look at yourself. Your brother inherited everything. What use are you? In front of me, you're nothing." "What do you mean? My parents spoil me. My brother works for me," Dylan shouted. "Well, see if you can walk out of custody. Vera Sterling, what are you doing?" Dylan lifted his head suddenly, fear entering his voice. I didn't answer. Summer also looked scared. She shrieked at the newcomers. "What are you doing? We booked this place. You're trespassing." The bodyguard didn't spare her a glance. "Madam, Ms. Sterling is the owner of this private estate. Our entry is completely legal." "What?" Summer covered her mouth. In her panic, she subconsciously looked at Andrew. "Andrew, darling." Andrew was still shaken. "Who told him to raise a hand against Vera? He deserves this. But he only did it to stand up for you, didn't he?" "Andrew, darling, he's your friend. If Vera had been kinder, why would he feel the need to intervene? Is all your years of friendship worth less than bowing to Vera once?" Andrew fell silent. Dylan echoed. "Andrew, I did this for you. You know how I've treated you all these years, don't you?" Andrew was moved. He looked at me pleadingly. "Vera, can you do this for my sake?" I said, "Yes." He was delighted. "Really? I knew you cared about me. I was wrong today. Please don't be angry with me. Let's start over." I turned to instruct my bodyguards. "Call the police. Report unauthorized gathering, gambling, and assault." Bodyguard: "Yes, ma'am." Andrew. Everyone was stunned. The police arrived quickly, with the surveillance footage, the dice, and the cards all present. Andrew and his friends were quickly detained for investigation. Walking out of the estate, Andrew watched me leave without looking back, still utterly bewildered. He didn't understand why I had become this way. Summer stood behind him, her voice distant. "Andrew, darling, I told you, she never cared about you. With your status, think of the damage if the news breaks that you've been arrested." "Vera, she's not like that," Andrew said hoarsely. Summer didn't reply. The next day, when he was bailed out of the police station, he saw the top trending news: Quinn Eyre detained for gambling and assault. He felt a profound chill. Summer, ever sympathetic, whispered, "Andrew, darling, for a person like my sister, you have to truly take everything away from her. Only then will she cling to you and belong to you." He finally spoke. "I understand. Ms. Sterling, don't you think this is too extreme?" Jenna's hand trembled as she looked at the trending topic. I took a pleasant sip of tea, pretending to be innocent. "I didn't do it." She quickly nodded. "Right. It wasn't you. You did nothing. The paparazzi caught it themselves. It has nothing to do with you. You are the victim." I glanced at her. She worried. "It's not just Andrew. Your phone blew up last night. Those people, even if they are the rejected sons of their families, still need to be cared for. Sending them to jail means a loss of face. You've made too many enemies. This might affect our corporate partnerships. Do you think I fear them?" I was dismissive. "I spearheaded the transition. I planned every step. Without me, how will they continue?" Jenna hesitated, then finally spoke. "They have banded together and called a shareholder meeting. Ms. Sterling, they demand you attend tomorrow afternoon. You were truly too high profile this time." A stack of documents was thrown in front of me. The uncles and elders who used to be so polite to me now pointed fingers and cursed. "This is all you're doing. How many projects have you ruined? How much have you stolen? Vera, you acted recklessly behind our backs. Are you trying to drag us all down with you?" The atmosphere at the top floor shareholder meeting was tense, and the full force of their hostility was aimed at me. I meticulously opened the documents. The accounts looked fine initially, but upon closer inspection, I found numerous irregularities. Beyond the finances, there were problems with the materials used and the procedures followed. This was a fatal blow for any company. A single investigation could send me to prison. I carefully read every page. At the end, I looked up at Andrew across the room. "Is this what you call love?" Every compromised document was related to a project initiated after the marriage alliance with Quinn Corp. Even the non-cooperative projects had some link to the Quinns. Since the night on the overpass, this was the first time I had truly scrutinized Andrew. He was thinner, no longer meticulously groomed, his chin was stubbled, and his eyes held a suppressed madness. I was surprised by how much one person could change in less than 2 weeks. Hearing my question, he met my gaze. Vera, Summer is right. You will only be obedient and stay by my side when you have nothing left. That was true when you married me, and it is true now, I said, but I refuse. Andrew, since when did you become the one who forces others? Didn't you pride yourself on being a good guy? Are you copying my dirty tricks now? Just assume I've gone crazy. I never thought I'd become like this, but if I didn't, you would never look at me again. His reply was numb yet resolute. I laughed out loud. What a load of nonsense. The others, enjoying my humiliation, finally spoke up. Vera, you should be reasonable. My Dylan might be impulsive, but you grew up together. You can't just send him to jail over a little spat. It makes it hard for me to support you, Mr. Dylan's father spoke calmly. We, your uncles, have watched you grow. We feel bad, but business is business. You should resign and hand over power. You've grown too arrogant. Exactly. We appreciate your dedication over the years, but you've worked hard enough. Step down now and find someone to marry. Someone else chimed in, their condescending tone suggesting this was the consequence of offending them. I tossed the documents aside and said directly, my uncles are right. I wouldn't be Vera Sterling today without your help and support. I am deeply grateful. My tone shifted, my eyes narrowing. However, I am naturally a person who repays debts. If my uncles plan to unite and send me to jail alone, wouldn't I be lonely? Why don't I drag you all in with me? Wouldn't it be more fun if we were all happily detained together? How dare you, Mr. Dylan's father slammed the table and stood up. I kicked my chair away and sneered. Why wouldn't I dare? Aren't you forcing me to burn the bridge behind me? You think you can crush me, but I can ensure my books are clean. Can you guarantee yours are? What do you gain by doing this? Why push things to the extreme? Mr. Dylan's father's fingers trembled with rage. I smiled brightly, because I'm still young. They paused, then scoffed. So what if you're young? Can youth feed you? Youth means I have the chance to make mistakes and fix them. I scanned everyone in the room. Aside from Andrew and me, who inherited early, the youngest person present was at least 55. I didn't hide my audacity, my voice unwavering. 10 years, 20 years. I can still start over when I get out. I have the time to waste. But what about you? Should I visit your graves when I get out? They gasped, choked with anger. You are absolutely insane. I am insane. And you pushed me here. You use people and then cast them aside. You can do that, but why should I stay silent? Furthermore, you can't get rid of me, can you? Without me, who will clean up the mess of the Sterling transition? Who says no one else can? Vera, you are a usurper. The conference room door opened. Summer entered, dressed in expensive, polished clothes. Helen followed behind her, her pale face now rosy, triumphant. And Summer was pushing Walter Sterling. Walter, the others, seeing Walter Sterling, looked instantly tearful. If I hadn't been their ally in ousting him, I would have believed their sincerity. Walter, you're finally back. We really couldn't control this unfilial daughter. At this moment, only Walter can manage things. Vera isn't irreplaceable. Walter Sterling, who was no stranger to their hypocrisy, resented them but managed to smile. Don't worry, Sterling Corp is still under my command. Summer walked up to me, her resentment finally uncontrollable. Sister, I told you I wouldn't be inferior to you. Everything you can do, I can do. This company should be mine. Now, I have finally defeated you. You know what? I hate your arrogant attitude the most. We are both father's daughters. Yet you had everything, and I was forced to flee overseas. I hate you. Summer, what are you saying? Andrew frowned, unable to believe such venom came from Summer's mouth. Summer, feeling victorious, no longer pretended. Her voice remained sickeningly sweet as she answered. Andrew, darling, what's the point of defending her now? Can you even protect her? She has to go to prison today. I've already written the report and called the police. What do you mean? Didn't I say only to make Vera resign, not to press charges? Andrew's voice rose sharply. Summer shook her head. Andrew, darling, you are too kind. Vera made mistakes. She must pay the price. But had I truly made mistakes? Andrew knew better than anyone that I had never falsified accounts. The so-called evidence was fabricated by him and Summer. You lied to me. You lied to me. Andrew was furious. In the past, Summer would have cried and played weak. but now Walter Sterling was back. She was the Sterling heiress. She didn't need to fear Andrew's status. She was confident she would take the CEO position, just as I had. So, she finally said what she had always wanted to say. I was always lying to you. Andrew, darling, didn't you realize? If it weren't for your status, why would I ever look at you? Andrew started to lunge forward but was restrained. I looked up at Jenna. She was exceptionally professional and loyal. She offered me a look of apology. Mr. Quinn said that Ms. Sterling seems to have forgotten how she rose to power. He doesn't keep dogs that bite their owner, so he asked Ms. Sterling to manage her daughter herself. My father. Andrew stopped. Mr. Quinn had been diagnosed with cancer years ago and gradually relinquished power. Andrew hadn't heard his father speak outside of hospital visits in a long time. He asked Jenna, My father is sending Vera to jail. Jenna smiled politely. Young master, Mr. Quinn said you still have much to learn about business. Andrew completely collapsed. I was unsurprised. I nodded to Jenna. I understand. Please convey my regards to Mr. Quinn. Jenna was non-committal. Walter Sterling seized the moment and announced, Gentlemen, Mr. Quinn and I have reached an agreement. As long as I am reinstated, your investments will not be lost. Arthur is back in business. With Quinn core support, what is there to worry about? The attendees instantly reached a consensus. Helen, though she didn't understand the details, knew I was defeated. She swaggered up to me. Brat, that's what you get for bullying me. You should die with your mother. Your mother couldn't beat me, and her daughter can't beat mine. She deserves this. Walter Sterling chimed in. In that moment, I became the focus of universal scorn. Everyone watched my downfall, eager to see my failure. They pierced my back with their mockery, just as they had during my sparsely attended funeral years ago. I simply met Andrew's gaze and asked blankly, Is this what you wanted? No, Vera, Andrew desperately tried to explain, but I answered for myself. Too bad, because this isn't what I wanted. The conference room door opened again. Police officers and market regulators walked in. They scanned the room, walked past me, and stopped in front of Walter Sterling. Walter Sterling, you need to come with us. And who is Dylan Johnson? Andrew Quinn. Summer Sterling. Stand up. What does this mean? You have the wrong people. Vera Sterling is over there, Helen shouted, confused. Walter Sterling was equally incredulous. Officers, shouldn't you be looking for Vera Sterling? You must have the wrong person. You definitely have the wrong person. It's Walter Sterling. The regulator confirmed. You are the legal representative of this company. Correct. He froze. Yes, he is. I answered for him, pulling out the stack of contracts he had signed in the hospital. The most prominent document clearly read, Application for change of corporate legal representative. The signature at the bottom was bold and confident, his signature. Even the original contracts had his name on the decision-making page. I smiled. He is the legal representative of this company. The audit materials are ready. Perhaps this is what you need. The regulators carefully checked the details, nodded, and told the nearby officers, It's him. Take him away. Walter Sterling finally understood, struggling to climb out of his wheelchair. Vera Sterling, you trapped me. No. You wanted to use this opportunity to completely break free from Arthur Quinn's control. You unfilial daughter. That signing ceremony, it wasn't that you feared Arthur. You were afraid of an accident and wanted me to sign it. He was shouting as he was escorted away. Summer also started screaming. Only Andrew paused as he walked past me, asking, When did you start preparing for this? I replied, The day I arranged for Summer to be coaxed into returning from overseas. He struggled to utter every word. So, everything you did, the marriage, the manipulation of me to run to Summer, deliberately crippling Quincore reputation, and finally pretending to be aggressive to force the shareholders to act, all of it wasn't for me. It was about my father. You wanted to break free from his control, right? I looked up, smiling innocently. Do you know what I envied most about you? What? Your stupidity, I said, but now you've lost even that last virtue. I find you utterly unattractive. The crowd dispersed, leaving only those who were now terrified. They desperately wanted to rush back and check their own books. I simply turned around, braced myself on the conference table, and smiled again. So, gentlemen, can I still be replaced now? They remained silent, unable to meet my gaze. Extra, the secretary's perspective. Jenna couldn't believe she had succeeded in applying to be Ms. Sterling's personal secretary. Sterling Corp was a massive enterprise in a city, and getting in meant boundless potential. She was fortunate that her predecessor had been dismissed for some unknown mistake. Otherwise, she wouldn't have had the opportunity to avoid her predecessor's fate. On her first day, she presented herself with professional diligence and knocked on the office door early. "Miss Sterling." The woman at the desk looked up. Even though it wasn't Jenna's first meeting with her, a spark of amazement flashed in her eyes. This admiration didn't come from mere looks, but from her sheer presence, reserved, sharp, mature, and with the crushing weight of authority. What was more astonishing was that the woman occupying this seat was barely in her early 30s. Word was that Miss Sterling had inherited the company at a young age and fought her way up. Not long ago, there was intense internal turmoil at Sterling Corp, with rumors that she was about to be arrested. Jenna personally believed the rumor was incomplete. It was clearly her father who ended up in jail. "According to today's schedule, should you convene a meeting?" the woman at the desk said calmly. "Not yet. We're going somewhere first." "Where?" "The hospital." It was a famous private hospital in a city, typically reserved for the wealthy. Jenna remembered that Ms. Sterling's father was indeed ill, but shouldn't he be incarcerated? And her sister was also in custody, supposedly for falsifying accounts. So who was at the hospital? Jenna followed her boss into the room and saw a man in his 50s lying in bed, covered in tubes. He was frighteningly thin, his head completely shaved, withering away, yet his eyes were sharp. Beside him, a haggard noblewoman was sobbing uncontrollably. "Mr. Quinn, Mrs. Quinn, long time no see." Vera spoke. Diane Quinn looked up, her voice sharp. "It's all you. How dare you show up? We treated you well. Why did you do this to Andrew? You ungrateful wretch." "Diane, step outside." Mr. Quinn, on the bed, spoke slowly. "Arthur." Diane was indignant, but she eventually turned and left. Quinn Corp was in turmoil, and Andrew had been arrested. She was frantic dealing with the fallout. Jenna stepped out, but the door didn't close fully, and the voices inside carried faintly. It was Ms. Sterling's voice, calm and without remorse. "I thought that after all I've done for you these years, the debt was finally repaid. Mr. Quinn, you spoiled Andrew back then, thinking you could teach him later, but then you got cancer. You had to rely on me to sharpen him. I listened to you. I personally mentored him. Didn't I also ensure Quinn Corp benefited from our cooperation? But you are destroying Quinn Corp. You are destroying Andrew." Mr. Quinn's breathing was ragged. "No. As for Quinn Corp, I am simply letting go now. There is no longer any beneficial link between us. As for Andrew, I assure you my instruction was comprehensive, and I certainly didn't force him to falsify accounts, did I? He went to jail. Vera, if he hadn't gone, I would have. I am under no obligation to face the consequences for him, but he did this because he loved you too much. He wanted to possess you." Vera laughed. "Mr. Quinn, as a businessman, don't you find that statement rather ridiculous?" Mr. Quinn fell silent. "You've kept the secretary you gave me on my staff for years, constantly monitoring me, constantly reaching for more control. Mr. Quinn, if you keep playing this game, you will lose." Vera's voice was resolute. She sounded like a new wolf king who had successfully defeated the old one young and powerful. This caused a moment of realization in Mr. Quinn. "I remember when you were a child, you were very obedient," Vera said. "Obedient is not a compliment to me." This unyielding attitude finally made the old man close his eyes. "I truly regret being soft enough to help you back then." Vera raised an eyebrow, a hint of mockery in her gaze. "Mr. Quinn, having been out of the loop for so long, you haven't started believing your own lies, have you? You and my father were bitter rivals. Supporting me to take him down was a strategic win for both of us. How much of that was genuine affection for my mother, we both know. You wouldn't expect me to forget how my father rose to power, would you? Let me guess your next step. I groom Andrew, then marry him. We have a child who takes the Quinn surname but inherits Sterling Corp. And years later, the two companies merge, and Sterling Corp vanishes. Right." Mr. Quinn said nothing. Vera wasn't planning to stay long. She announced loudly, "Starting today, I will rarely visit you. Take care." She walked out decisively. Even Mr. Quinn couldn't maintain his composure. "What exactly do you intend to do to Andrew?" "Whatever the law decides. I don't have that authority, but regardless of my intentions, you did benefit from my kindness, didn't you?" Vera looked back. "Indeed. So rest assured, if Andrew goes to jail and Quinn Corp collapses, I will still take care of you both in your old age." Mr. Quinn frantically pressed the emergency call button. Diane rushed in, screaming at Vera. Jenna debated whether she should intervene, knowing this was private business. Before she could decide, her employer emerged, unharmed and completely composed. It was a chilling realization for Jenna. This was the woman whose presence would define the A-City business district for decades to come. likely securing the top position.